Yo, what's going on, Snipers, and welcome back to Turn Your Calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the draft and re-sign stage, and the re-sign stage was quite tough for us. We did manage to bring mostly everybody back, but we did have to let go of Mr. Zane Giordano, which was unfortunate, but it kind of made sense that we had to let go of somebody because obviously we have a lot of RFAs that still need contracts, so obviously, those guys are going to cost us a good chunk of money going into next season. So it's we now need at least maybe 18, close to $20 million to sign a lot of these dudes. So I think we might have to let go of somebody. And then also, because our center core pretty much is still good, I think, without even Giordano. We do still have Makinen as that top line center. He's now getting $15 million a season, so he is a bit more expensive. But I decided to prioritize him over Giordano. And then we also have Ashton back again. He's making 7.1. He was listed as a second line forward last season too, so he's getting a big shot this year. He isn't a huge point producer, at least he hasn't been with us these first 2 years, but he has been a consistent 24 goal scorer, so I think with maybe some more 5-on-5 time, this guy could be like a 60-point player. He does well on the power play, does well at regular strength, so going up from the third line to the second line might help things a little bit. So excited to see what he could do as that second line center that Giordano was last season. Aside from that, our bottom six is a little bit weak. As you can see, we don't really have the strongest center depth, so that's definitely something we're looking into improving in this episode, is probably finding a new third line center behind Ashton, because obviously Ashton used to be that third line center. Russell could probably still be the fourth line center, or we could always sign our fourth line center and use Russell's depth, but we do have a lot of young guys that are competing for roster spots on the left wing side of things, so we might still have to make some trades in this episode or at the start of the season. But aside from that, most of this team should be the same going into this next coming season. So I'm excited to see what our team does. Again, I'm a little bit worried, obviously, because we did let go of Giordano, but I think this roster is still going to be solid enough that it should be able to get to another Cup Finals again. But obviously, it just depends on what the simulation wants to give us and that type of thing. So with that said, let's get in your guys' comments. See what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into some off-season work. So the first and only comment is from Sour Taku, who says, "You had to make some tough decisions, but they're ultimately necessary. Hamilton has to be your play for the third line center. It shouldn't cost you too much to get him. Plus, with that cheap contract, it won't hurt you on the salary cap front," which I totally agree with. That's the guy we are definitely prioritizing it, looking at for a potential trade, because we did go to the trading block and we found him. So if we go to find trade right now, and we go over to our good old friends in the Nashville Predators, you can see they do have this guy in Hamilton on the block. He's an 81 overall, so he would be our new third line center. He's also not making too much money on an expiring deal, so I don't know if he'll be necessarily here for the long haul, but he's a decent third line center option for our team. And he's not a bad producer. Last season, he had 41 points in Nashville. He was getting power play time, though. With us, probably that won't happen. But you can see he is a former 50-point guy at one point in Dallas. He definitely can produce, which is great to see. So excited to see what he could do in our lineup. He's not the best defensive forward, it seems like, in terms of his plus-minus, but maybe he could be better in a role with our team. So excited to see what he could do. He's got really good passing stats and solid offensive awareness, so he should be able to give us maybe some third-line scoring next to some good players. So excited to see what he could do. And of course, he's another former guy that was drafted by Dallas, which is funny because obviously we used to have Mishenko. We did trade Mishenko at the draft, and we do still have Kazanov. So a lot of former Dallas Stars guys being in this organization, but obviously Hamilton's what we're going to try and bring in. So let's go to find trade and see what Nashville actually wants for Hamilton, and then we'll see if that's an actual offer that we could attain to do. They want multiple different offers, which is interesting. The first one is Lindsay, who's an RFA right now, a third, and Jang, which obviously we're not doing because we are giving up 2 of our top 6 defenders, and we're not giving up a third-round pick. 2 third-rounders in Jang. We're not giving up Jang at the moment. Trotter, a third, and Jang's too much. Savage and Jang is too much still too, and then Nielsen and Jang. There is a lot of chance we could move out from some of these left wingers, remember, like I was saying in last episode, so I might be okay with moving out from Nielsen potentially, but I don't really want to give too much else up. I could do Nielsen maybe in a third-round pick or something later than that. I might be willing to attain that, because I think Nielsen's definitely one of those guys that's on the outs. If we go back to our roster here, I'll keep my face off the screen so you guys can kind of see a little bit more in depth. Our left wing side right now is going to be probably Crane. It's either Ragnarsson or Kazanov that'd be playing on the left side. The other one would be playing the right wing likely. Actually, probably Ragnarsson's top line guys. So probably Kazanov, say, is the left wing guy. I don't know. But we also have guys like Popov, Abney, Trotter, Hilbert, Savage. Like, Savage is a guy that we need to maybe move out from. Nielsen, I think, could get replaced by Popov on that third line, or Trotter. Abney and Hilbert obviously could fight out for that fourth line spot with Savage. So I think what we're going to probably end up doing is maybe moving out from Nielsen. He is one of our RFAs at the moment, so he would cost us a little bit more money. He wasn't necessarily super impressive in his rookie year. 20 points in 82 games is okay, but his playoffs, he didn't pick up a single point, and he was also -7. So I think I might honestly be leaning towards trading away the former first-round pick in this deal. Obviously, it's a lot to get for a third-line center, but I think we're going to try and make a deal work with Nielsen involved to get this third-line guy in Hamilton. So we're going to go back to this, and we're going to go to this third deal, or this last deal, I should say. And we're going to get rid of Jang off this list because Jang, like I said, he's a top 6 defenseman for us. So Nielsen in Hamilton right now is not that bad in terms of value, but we do need still to add some more. So we will probably have to add in something to this deal. Is there anybody else that's interesting to them on our block? Mostly the young guys. Obviously, like I said, I might want to have Abney as the fourth line left winger this season. Trotter's also in that spot. Hilbert's competing. Russell we need to keep on too. Trying to think if there's anybody I would throw in this deal. Not really. I mean, I could throw in like these low 6s and stuff like that, but that's not really that much. Goalies, they do have interest in some of our goalie prospects, but I mean, Bergenheim's not really going to pan out, but he's got too much value. He's got too much value for this type of deal, I feel like. So I probably would deal Nielsen and probably a pick to get Hamilton at this point. So we do have multiple third-rounders. We could hypothetically move our own third-rounder in this deal. It might be a bit of an overpay, but I would be willing to give up our third-rounder, do Nielsen in a third, and maybe we would take back a draft pick in the 4th round or something like that from Nashville. That might not even get it done, though. We might have to still rework things, but we're going to try this. Nielsen in a third for Hamilton in a 4, so we move back one round in the draft, and we get ourselves our third-line center. They get themselves a young left winger that we're not going to utilize because I think he's already getting replaced by probably Trotter or something like that, so would this work? Nielsen in a third for Hamilton in a 4th. And the answer is a little bit low, so if I move this back to a 5th, this should be able to get it done, I guess. Would this work? And the answer is yes, it would. So there we go. Nielsen's on his way to the Nashville Predators. We get in our new third-line center. We move back 2 rounds in the draft, which is kind of sucks, but obviously at the same time, we don't care as much about the draft anymore. And we now have our new third-line center to this team in Hamilton. So that obviously makes us a little bit stronger down the middle. If we sort this by overall, you can see Russell still's the 4th-line guy. I could always sign a 4th-line center, but I don't really feel like it's necessary. It could be necessary. Maybe we need to find a depth center, just in case. Yeah, maybe we'll find ourselves a depth center or 4th-line center anyways. Because we do have a lot of wingers still. I would still like to try and move out from Savage, potentially. Just because I know he's going to be probably one of the outs. Like, we're definitely prioritizing for the 4th line, either Abney or Hilbert, Popov or Trotter for 3rd line left wing. So, maybe we could try and find a way to trade Savage here, too. A 7th round pick. He would not really get us too much. There's this Winchester deal, which obviously Winchester would be a better 4th line center for us, and he's not really breaking the bank. So maybe this is the type of deal we'd actually take, because that way we could use Russell as a depth center, and Winchester could be our 4th line guy. Aside from that, mostly everybody else is just willing to give up a 7th rounder or a random prospect. I feel like that one from the Ducks actually might not be that bad. Even though it is a multiple year contract, it is very cheap, and it is movable. So let's look a little bit into this deal with Anaheim and see if it makes sense for us. I'll put my face back on the screen a little bit, but Winchester's not making that much. He is a depth center. He is a sniper, which is not fantastic to have for a fourth line type of guy. Like, I'd probably use him as our depth forward and probably use Russell still in that fourth line spot in that sense. His face-off stats are actually pretty good. His defense isn't that bad either for a sniper, to be honest, though, too. So maybe he's okay to actually be in the lineup. Yeah, I don't think he's that expensive of a player, so I think this is the deal we're going to make. Just a little bit of a lateral move, basically, to get ourselves that center. We won't have to sign anybody. And then basically we actually do free up some cap space this season too a little bit, which is good. So Savage will send you to Anaheim. Winchester, welcome aboard. I think that's a nice little deal as well. And now it gives us a little bit of an interesting dilemma with the young guys on that left wing side. Like I said, Trotter, obviously, I think he and Popov are going to compete for roster spots this season. And then meanwhile, the two physical players like Abney and Hilbert will compete for the fourth line spot. Aside from that, though, we do not really need much else. We probably could use maybe some depth forwards. Like, let's take a look at this for a second here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. We could maybe use one more depth forward because I wouldn't want to use like somebody like Trotter or Abney as a healthy scratch, hypothetically. So yeah, maybe we're looking to bringing in one depth forward for us. Yeah, let's do that. Let's look for one depth forward to sign, and that's the only signing we're going to make, probably, because we have a lot of our RFAs still to sign. I just wanted to make sure we have our depth options in case as well. So let's go to wingers. Let's go to right wingers for fun and see if we can find ourselves a nice depth winger for this team. Somebody like this Draper guy might be okay, but he is actually wanting 2.2, which is a bit too expensive for me. We're trying to find somebody cheap. Somebody like Gaudette, who used to play with us, would be good. He only wants 925. But there's also Hornquist, who's a bit younger. Good AHLer. Decent defensive stats, but not great face-offs. But it's okay, he is a winger, so it makes sense. He might not be that bad. Looks like he's a pretty solid AHL player. But has never gotten a shot at the NHL level at the moment. He's been in Grand Rapids his entire career, so let's give a chance to this guy because he could be a decent depth/bottom six option. He does want a two-way contract. We're going to give him a 1-year deal. Just max this up a little bit to try and get him to sign. And bam. So there we go. That should be our only signing we need to make in this episode aside from our RFAs. In terms of coaching staff, I don't know if I need to bring in any new coaches or anything. Like, let's look at our coaching staff again. I don't think this was something I needed to look into, really, if I'm not mistaken. We do need a new AHL head coach. So I guess that's something we should probably look to sign in this episode as well. So let's see if there's any good AHL head coaches with good teaching grades that could potentially help us out a little bit with our development. We could probably just bring in... Oh, Sidney Crosby's a coach. Damn, I didn't even realize that. He's not a great fit, it says right now, but he's a really good teacher of the game, which makes sense. 56-year-old Sidney Crosby, goddamn. I didn't realize he retired and became a coach. I completely forgot about that. Where has he coached before this? Like, has he coached around? Guess not, unless it doesn't track AHL stuff, but... Yeah, you know what? Let's just bring in Sidney Crosby because he's Sidney Crosby. Having Sidney Crosby coach our young guys just sounds like a fun thing for me, so let's just do that. And see if he'll be on board with that. Aside from that, I don't think there's much else we really need. So let's see. What else do we need to do? Just got to double check that there was nothing else to bring in. I don't think there really is anything else we need to do, except for maybe some off-season focuses. But our team is pretty old at this point, so a lot of these guys don't really need to get better. Trying to think if we need to. Maybe we'll do somebody like Dempsey, try and get him to become a better scorer, because obviously if he could score some goals on that third line next to Hamilton, that'd be very nice. So let's try and get him to get better at his shooting a little bit. Yeah, let's try and get him better shooting-wise. He is good at shooting, but obviously if he could get even better, that would be fantastic. So we'll try that out a little bit. Aside from that, I don't know if there's any other players that are worth it. I mean, some guys, like these young players like Trotter, maybe we could try and get them to develop a little bit better. But we're at this stage where it's just like, I'm not too sure how important it is to do this type of thing anymore. So let's go shooting on that for Trotter. Since we do have a little bit of a youth injection, we might as well focus a bit on these guys before we get into simulating some of next season as well. And I guess the rest of this will probably keep the same. I mean, Hilbert and Abney are young too, but Abney I think was an enforcer, so it's not the biggest player in the world to kind of test out a little bit. So didn't we need a depth defenseman as well, actually, for that matter? I need to double check on that because we might need a depth defenseman still. 1, 2, 3, 4 of Jang, 5, 6 there. We could always use Savage as a depth defenseman. He does have potential to become a good defender. He is actually listed as a depth defenseman. So I think we'll actually use him as a depth defender. I know he's not the highest overall in the world, but he could be like a 78 before the season starts and listed as a top 6. So I'd prefer to probably just use him as that depth option or something instead. So aside from that, I think we're ready to simulate some and see if our RFAs start accepting. The worst thing that could happen this offseason is if another team goes after our RFAs. Because if somebody goes after our RFAs and pays too much to them, that could make us even more cap constraint, which is not what we want. So let's simulate through this month of July. We'll obviously find out where Giordano's signing as well. But let's see if any of her RFAs accept before the end of this first month of the off season. But let's go decline and edit trading block. Just get rid of the players on the block right now because we're not trying to necessarily trade away some of our younger guys at the moment. And I don't really need any trade offers at the moment either, as I think our team is pretty much set up the way we want to for next season already. There might be some more players getting dealt, but obviously that will come to it at the start of the season. Like if for some reason we have to get rid of Abney or something before he even plays a game, something like that. So Crosby's on board to be the next head coach in Bridgeport, so that's pretty cool. So shout out to 56-year-old Sidney Crosby. He'll be getting to coach our young guys. Maybe that could help out Bridgeport a bit. And we do get Hornquist on board, who's that fourth line right wing / depth option. I do not mind that. And of course, there's one player that's already been qualified a tender offer, and that is a $4.6 million contract to Esteban Nicholas. We're going to have to match this offer. It's only a 1-year deal. We would get a second round pick back for him, but obviously at the same time, we are not trying to let go of our goalies yet, so we're going to match that offer on Nicholas, but that's kind of more expensive than I was intending to give to him. So hopefully no other teams go after any other guys at the moment, please. Just because I do not want to be overpaying on every single RFA, if possible. All right, so let's go back to our contract situation, see if people are dropping their asking prices down. We are down to $23 million in cap space. We still have 3 RFAs to deal with. That's not too bad. What is Lindsay asking for now at this point? 4.325. Still a little bit expensive. I could wait maybe a bit more on him. Because Zanov is still asking for $8 million, which is still a lot. He does have a lot of organizational interest, but I still think trying to pay him over $7 million right now is not what I'm leaning towards. And then Holmstrom, he's been a good defenseman. He only wants a 1-year deal now. It's 6.975. It's not the worst case. I'm going to just let those guys sit for a little bit longer and see if they actually eventually accept. But, yeah, they probably will accept soon. We probably will have some good chunk of cap space still available, which is nice because obviously once the trade deadline happens, maybe we could bring in some big fish if we really want to. But let's find out where Giordano signed, just for fun. Actually, I could go to the player search function instead of just going in the signing part, I guess. But let's see where Giordano signed. And then we'll continue to simulate through this offseason and getting up to the start of another season. So let's see where Giordano went. Where did he sign? The answer is Winnipeg. So Zane Giordano on his way to Winnipeg. He knows that when I was doing my Jet Series last year that they won a bunch of cups in Winnipeg. So that's where he signs. The real question is, how much did he sign for? So obviously 88 overall at 31. No movement clause, so he does get a clause out of the contract, which is interesting. And he gets $17.46 million, which is more money than we were originally going to get him back for. But that's an expensive contract, and he's getting 6 years on it. So likely he's going to be retiring as a Winnipeg Jet. He's going to be stuck with them for the rest of the series, but $17.46 million is a ton of money. I mean, he is a good player, but that's an expensive deal. So shout out to Zane Giordano, who just secured the bag. And yeah, there's that contract. Full no movement clause for him, which means, yeah, he's probably going to be here right till the end of the series, unless for some reason they get him to waive, which I don't think the AI even does that type of thing. So there goes Gio on his way to Winnipeg. Definitely going to be interesting to see where he fits in on the Jets. I would assume he's going to be one of their best players, but that's an interesting acquisition for them. So let's continue to simulate to next season, see if any RFAs accept or if we're going to have to actually start dishing out some contracts. And yes, we're going to have to start dishing out some contracts. That's fine. Just wanted to get them as cheap as possible, kind of. Hopefully they still want to accept here and not hold out for the season, because that would be dreadful. So Holmstrom, we're going to get you on a 1-year deal at $5.425 million. Hopefully we can get you back on a long-term deal at some point. Kazanov as well, we're going to get you back $6.425. A bit expensive for Kazanov, but he could have a breakout year this year, so I kind of understand his asking price. And then Lindsay is going to be getting 3.4, which Lindsay, I don't know if he deserves 3.4, especially considering he's a top 6 defenseman, literally listed as a top 4, but that's at least going to solidify our defense a little bit more. And once Kazanov accepts, we might still have around like $10 million in cap space, which is absolutely huge for the trade deadline ahead. So excited for that, as Kazanov has accepted the offer. Awesome. So yeah, we will have a lot of cap space to make some potential moves this year. And maybe that's what we exactly kind of need again, is so that way we have freed up cap space for some moves. Like maybe we had enough money to maybe get Giordano back, but it's tough to say. All right, let's get these lineups set up and see what we're working with for another season. Obviously, we got to set it up the way we want. So in terms of roster moves, let's see what we got in terms of goalies. Nicholas is up to an 87 overall. We also have Komatov as an 84, both listed as starting goalies. So there's a chance we might have to make up a decision sooner rather than later on who is going to be the goalie we hold on to. And I'm not too sure which one I would prioritize, because both of them are good in points last season. Both of them are bad at points as well. AHL, it's going to be Barkov, Vishnevsky, and Irwin. Irwin's obviously going to be playing because he is elite potential. Then in terms of our defensive core, what do we got? Houghton, Schaefer, Holmstrom, Carlton. Lindsay's up to an 82 now and literally listed as a top 4. So he might complain about ice time, which means we might have to think about maybe making a defensive change midway through the season if somebody complains a bit. And then we have Jang, of course, on that top 6. So we do need a depth defenseman called up. So that's where Savage is going to get called up. He's actually listed as a top 6 as well as a 77. So I'm worried he might complain a bit. But maybe that means he gets into the lineup and knocks somebody that's on that top 6 pairing like Lindsay or Jang out if we move on from somebody. Hopefully we don't make too many people complain on that defensive side of things. In the AHL, obviously, Strombolopoulos, Jerzina, and Carter, the only ones under contract. So the AHL team does need some more defenders, which is not great because that means they probably have forwards playing defense potentially. Aside from that, forwards on our NHL team, Lehman, Dempsey, Hornquist on the right side. Nobody needs to come up from the AHL there. From a left wing perspective, we have Crane, Ragnarsson, Kazanov. Popov's up to an 82. Hilbert's a 79. Abney's a 79. Trotter's a 79. Damn. There's a lot of competition. And Terry's literally listed as a 4th line forward as well in the AHL as a power forward. I probably will keep him in the AHL for the year. But hypothetically, we might have to make some more left wing type of moves. Obviously, I might use Ragnarsson and Kazanov as right wingers, but goddamn, we have a lot of left wing guys on this team. From a center perspective, it's Makinen, Ashton, Hamilton, Winchester, and we will call up Russell, which means somebody has to get sent down from the NHL at the moment, which that's likely going to end up being one of the 2 physical guys. Because I'd like to have Trotter probably playing this season. He is listed as a depth forward, but he is a sniper, and we need that offense kind of on that 3rd line or 4th line maybe a bit. So one of the 3rd line checking forwards is going to have to probably get sent down, and I'm going to probably lean towards... do I want a good defensive player or a good physical player? God damn. I mean, technically Hilbert's a lot older, so we should probably keep Hilbert. So I will send Abney down to the AHL as the enforcer, but we might have to make some trades before we start up the season, potentially. Because there's going to be some people that are definitely complaining about ice time and stuff like that on our roster. All right, so let's rework this a little bit here. So we want Hamilton as a 3rd line center next to Dempsey and Popov. Fourth line would be Hilbert, Russell, and Hornquist. Good defensive fourth line if Hornquist actually stays in. But we do want Trotter in our lineup. And, yeah, if we want Trotter in our lineup, we, what is it? If we want Trotter in the lineup, we'd have to take Hornquist out, and Trotter would have to play fourth line minutes as a sniper, which isn't necessarily ideal, so, that might be okay still to have him there, though. Maybe we just find a way to get him second line power play time, and I'd be okay. But I don't know about having a sniper on the fourth line. It didn't work out really well last year for Nielsen, so we'll see what about Trotter staying in that spot. But then the depth options would be Winchester. Savage as a depth defender is probably not a great idea. And Hornquist as a depth forward. All right. Let's go to power play, set this up as well. So Makinen, Ragnarsson, Crane, Houghton, and Holmstrom is fine. Second unit, Lehman, Kazanov, Ashton, Dempsey, Schaefer. I guess Trotter's not even going to get any power play time. I kind of want him to get power play time in a way, but there's nobody I really could take off that power play whatsoever. So what about Pellenkill? Is he on the Pellenkill at least or something? I know he's a sniper, but let's see. He's not on the Pellenkill either. There's a realistic chance that maybe we should have Trotter back in the AHL for another year. Maybe then. 30 points last year in Bridgeport. I guess we'll see how he is in his first 10 games. And if he's not really doing too much because he's not getting a lot of ice time, maybe I'll call up the Enforcer instead for this spot. And then Trotter could stay in the AHL a little bit longer. Yeah, that might honestly be the play. Just because Trotter's still listed as a depth forward anyways. But we'll see what Trotter plays in 10 games. And like I said, if he's not doing that well, maybe we'll send him down because he's not getting power play time and all that right now. Like, he's kind of in a spot where he's kind of living behind Dempsey a bit. He is a left winger. I was saying he would compete with Popov for a lineup spot, but Popov is looking really, really good. So I don't think there's a way he could push Popov out of the lineup. So I'm thinking he's probably going to go back to the AHL, but we'll see, obviously. And then Abney could come up and be that physical presence on that fourth line if that's the case. Or even Terry could be if we really want to, but I'd probably prefer the Enforcer in a way. So, what about defensively? Obviously, we want Houghton on the top pairing. We want Schaefer on that top pairing too. And we want to swap the top two of those guys around. We want Holmstrom and Carlton playing together. And Jang and Lindsay. Let's hope that we could get Lindsay some ice time. He's not on the power play, but Pellenkill, we could put him on the top pairing instead of Schaefer. Just to make sure he's actually getting a lot more ice time, because I know he might complain if he's not getting enough. We'll get Schaefer onto that second unit. Houghton and Holmstrom will be on that third unit as per usual. But yeah, I think we need to get Lindsay a lot of defensive ice time on that PK, and that should hopefully keep him happy. If he starts to complain though, we might have to make some sort of defensive adjustment like I was mentioning before. So that's all good. Goalies, Nicholas and Komatov. Looks good. All right, AHL, let's just make sure the right guys are in the lineup. Let me go scratched. Irwin is scratched. I want him in over Vishnevsky, so we'll do that. And that's the only change, really, I think, other than maybe just checking these potentials. Ramjit Singh is a low lead. Damn, he's actually pretty close. Terry's getting close. We might honestly just keep it like this, because maybe the AI knows best. I don't really know. McMillan. Let's just keep it like this. And defensively like that. It did sign me, I guess, some filler defensemen instead of me using forwards, which is good. So don't have to worry about forwards playing outside of the roles. All right, perfect. So that is going to be our team going into 2043-44. We will simulate 10 games, and we'll see how Trotter does. And then we'll probably make our decision if we want to send him back to the AHL or not. And then we'll continue simulating more if we do that. So I think that's all good. We don't really need to do any season goals because obviously at this point it doesn't matter much. Let's get to the start of the preseason and see how this preseason goes. And then, like I said, we'll do 10 regular season games and obviously make that decision with Trotter. Jalen Jenks, what do you got to say, our coach? What do you got to say? Probably thinks we're good enough to compete for the cup, my guess. But let's do some skill training for our team. And season goal. Our season goal is to make the Stanley Cup final once again. So we'll see if this team can do it. But who knows? We could make it back to the finals, but we could lose again. We could make it to the conference finals again, lose again. Or maybe the game's going to make us an early exit this year. Who knows? But I'm excited to see what this team could do. Obviously, a little bit different without Giordano on it. So hopefully this team can still do good enough without him in the lineup for our team. All right, 2 third-round picks for Card and Crane. We are going to edit our trading block because we are not trying to trade away our prospects right now. I am not trying to make any moves this early in the season. I kind of want to just keep the team the same. And I kind of hate when the AI tries to throw offers at me this early in the year anyways. Because we're not trying to offload things right before the season starts, you know. Alright. So how is this preseason going to go? So far, a little bit of a mixed bag, but that's okay because it doesn't need to be good. It just needs to be solid. Which, it's going to be 5-2. Pretty good preseason, I guess. Started a little slow, but then we found our game a little bit. Let's take a look at some stats from the preseason. Just to see who was doing what. Crane led us with 8 points. Alright. How good did the youngster do in Trotter in the preseason? Only 1 assist in 7 games. Yeah, he's not going to be getting a lot of ice time. See, only 8:30 a game. Popov isn't getting a lot of ice time either. Like, he should be on the power play hypothetically, but I don't know if I could get him really into it because Kazanov's there, Ragnarson's there, Crane's there. So, yeah, I feel like some of these younger guys definitely are not going to get a huge opportunity this season like I would have liked to have gotten. But we are going to quickly check contract situation before the season ends. Our season starts, I should say. Holmstrom's the big RFA at the end of the season. We have actually a lot of RFAs this offseason again. It's mostly RFAs, which is good. Only one big UFA is Hamilton that we're just brought in this season. So, since we have so much RFAs, it's not going to be that bad. But I think Crane's contract comes to an end soon. Maybe not. He actually has a few more years left, so Crane might be okay still. That's good. He's got like 3 years left, including this season. I was just worried that we might end up losing people. Also, Houghton's got 3 years left. Schaefer's got 3 years left. So, Schaefer, Houghton, and Crane all will be UFAs in the same season, which is going to be quite costly if we can't win a Stanley Cup. So, anyways, with that said, let's get through 10 games of the season. We'll take a look at how Trotter's doing and how Popov is doing. And we'll make a decision if we want to send Trotter back down to Bridgeport for the rest of the season. And maybe call up the Enforcer instead. So wow, our second game of the season is against the Jets, of course, in Winnipeg. So literally our second game of the year, we're playing against Giordano. That's kind of interesting. We should maybe take a look at the box score in that game for fun. Yeah, we might do that. 5-8. Let's actually just do the 8 games and see how Trotter is at that point instead. But we might want to look at the box score of this Jets game just for fun afterwards, just to see if Giordano destroys us or we destroy him. We did beat him 5-3. We're off to a 2-0 start, which is good to see. I'm glad at least a lot of the players that we have contracts up for this offseason are RFAs, because that at least should make it a bit easier in terms of holding on to a good chunk of them. There's a couple losses here and there. There's an OT loss. Minnesota, another loss. And Colorado is a win. 4-3-1 in our first 8 games is not necessarily lights out like I was expecting. But maybe we don't need to be lights out to be that good in the playoffs. So let's go to our lines for a second here and take a quick look at how Trotter's doing. He is only a 78. But how did he do in his first 8 games? I know he's not getting a lot of ice time. No points so far. He hasn't been bad defensively. But yeah, I think I'm going to send him back down to the AHL. Get that Enforcer in. And obviously we could call him up later in the season if he gets a lot of development. But I think for him right now, the best bet to get a lot more ice time is to actually play top 6 time in the AHL. And like I said, Abney might take a lot of penalty minutes in our lineup. But I think having him in as like a 4th line winger might not be bad. So we'll throw him in here, I guess. Even though he's not a right winger, we'll throw him in. And obviously, if Russell's not playing that good, I could put Winchester in that spot instead. Winchester technically is a better overall, but Winchester's a sniper. So I prefer to keep him scratched right now and keep that 4th line more defensive. So Abney's going to get to play his first game. He did have 3 points in 6 games in the AHL, 25 penalty minutes in those 6 games. So he is a physical specimen, might take too many penalties. So if he does take a lot, we might have to reduce his role a lot. But I'm kind of excited to see what he could do for our team. And in AHL, we need to put Trotter into that top line, which maybe that will help him out in terms of getting some goal scoring and being better for the NHL next season. But I think it's probably for the best bet just because the amount of ice time he's getting anyways, he probably would be better suited in a top 6 role in the AHL than on the bottom 6 in an NHL role. So let's continue to simulate. So far, Minnesota just said is 7-1-1 in their first 9 games, and we play them today. So that's going to be an interesting game to see if we could take them off their streak. I actually did want to go back to that Jets game quickly. I know it's going to add more time to this episode, but at least it's been a short episode so far. But let's go to that Jets game from early in the season and see if Giordano scored goals against us or not. Because I'm kind of curious on that. Let's see, where is that game? The answer is where? Where is it? Was it earlier or did I just be blind? Oh, I know these might be preseason games. Yeah, these are preseason at the beginning here. So we need to go to regular season. And we need to go to this game coming up here. Yeah, perfect. Let's take a look at the box score in that game. So Dempsey scored for us. Little scored for them. Kazanov, Quirk, Ashton. Giordano scored his first goal as a Jet against his old team. I knew it was going to happen, but we did win that game, so I don't really care too much. But that's a funny one. Too bad it wasn't in New York, but that's actually kind of hilarious. So he only had 1 goal against us, but that's still kind of funny. So shout out to Giordano. Picked up his first goal against his former team. Well, I wonder how he's doing right now in Winnipeg. Hopefully Winnipeg's doing well enough for him because, like I said, I kind of like seeing success from former players, but at the same time, it kind of hurts when especially this team hasn't gotten it done yet. So hopefully we can win a cup this year. Let's go to the end of November and see how we do. Game against Minnesota. And we lose to them. They've been really good so far, so I didn't expect anything less than that. We do lose to Tampa. Little bit of a rocky start to the season. 4-6-1. The team is definitely going to find itself eventually, though, right? Because we're too good to be this bad, so 6-6-2. 6-7-2. This is a really weird start to the year. I don't think we've had something like this in quite some time. Like, Giordano maybe was the glue holding this team together. Tough to say. As Carlton's been injured with an injured shoulder. Let's go replace player on that. But this team is having a rough start to the year. But I feel like we're eventually going to heat up out of nowhere. Because this team's too good to be doing this bad. Unless they're trying to just make us 500. So we could actually win a Stanley Cup this year or something like that. I don't really know. Let's get Carlton back in here. Perfect. Like, our team defensively should be a lot better. So let's see. Shootout loss. And Boston is going to be a loss. 7-12-3 in our first 22 games. We are second worst in our division. And we're literally like 8 points back of a wild card spot right now. Like, we are definitely not off to a good start. But I do still feel like the best is yet to come with this team. But I am a little bit scared with how we started off this season. And the main reason it looks like right now is we're just not finding enough. We are not that good in goals for, not that good in goals against, and our special teams aren't good. Like, we're literally 25th in goals for and goals against, 24th on both the power play and penalty kill. So I don't really know why we're simulating that bad. But like I said, I do think this team can find its game eventually. Like, this lineup should be good. Like, is it that big of a drop-off to go from Giordano to Ashton? And to trade away Mishenko? I don't think so. Trying to think what I want to do here. I honestly might still just keep it the same right now. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it probably the same for now. I don't really know why we're losing games. But like I said, I just feel like this is probably one of those weird simulations where your first half of the season is kind of rough. And all of a sudden then you go on like a 15-game win streak. I feel like it's like one of those years. So let's continue to simulate. We're probably going to try and go to a halfway point to the season. We do have our game coming up against the Jets again, who are 15-9 with Giordano right now. So we will probably take a look at the box score of that game as well, just for fun. But let's see if the team can find itself in December a bit. We do lose the first game against the Habs. Dallas is another loss. Why are we simulating this bad? Goddamn. We got to find ourselves eventually, right? Is this the streak now? 3-game winning streak, only allowing 2 goals against. 7-3 loss to Utah. Not great. Do beat Ottawa. Vancouver, 5-1 win. Popov's now been injured. That's not great. Let's go replace player. And we do lose to the Jets there, 4-1. We're back up to 12, 16, and 3, so we're almost getting closer to 500 again. But we are still quite far back of a wild card spot right now. The good thing is there's a lot of season to go, so I shouldn't be too worried almost at the moment. But let me go back to the box scores. We're going to take a look and see if Giordano picked up any goals against us as his team beat us 4-1. Let's see. Did he score against us again? And the answer is no, he did not. He did pick up an assist, though, on the second little goal. All right. I am kind of concerned with this team right now, but like I said, I still feel like there's definitely going to be a surge where our team wins a bunch of games. Like, our team is good on paper, so they shouldn't be this bad unless there's a morale crisis I don't know about. Let's go to the 31st and see what we're like at that point. But we might have to make some work happen with this team a bit. Dempsey's now been injured. Of course, now we're getting slapped with injuries too. There's a win over Boston. Popov is back, which means we need to probably take him out of the lineup again and put him back in. Nope, never mind. Winchester and Hornqvist were both playing. So we'll get Popov back in here. That's good. We'll take Hornqvist out, get the sniper back in instead for the time being in Winchester, while we wait for Dempsey to return. Yeah, I wonder what's holding his team back. Maybe we should put Ragnarsson back to the second line. I don't even know. Maybe age is finally catching up to this team a bit. Tampa, 3-0 loss. God damn, guys, we are losing way too much here early on as Dempsey's back. Like I said, I think our team's still going to find its second win eventually and win a lot, but because we're too good not to be winning as much as we are, right? At least you would think. But maybe the Sim Engine has different plans for us this season. I don't even know. We do beat Toronto. Last game of December is also a win. So we are up to 15, 17, and 4. We have 5 games left before the halfway point. We're only 4 points back of a wild card spot, which is Washington. So, yeah, we could easily still make the playoffs. It's really weird to start to the year. Technically, if we were in the Pacific Division, we'd be dead last right now, which is kind of insane. Damn. Our second last, I think. Yeah, second last spot. Yeah, that's insane, man. Our division may be a little bit weak. Like, there is some really high-end teams like Flyers, Devils, and Penguins. They're all off to 21, 12, and something records, which is insane. Blue Jackets are kind of a little bit behind that, but they're still doing good. Capitals are kind of mid, just like us, the Rangers, and all that. So I do expect our team to find its game, but it's just a really weird start considering how good we normally start off seasons. So let's get to the halfway point, and we'll take a look at some stats and see if there's any areas that we should try to look to improve. Like I said, we have cap space, so at least we should be able to make our team better if they don't start winning games. There's 3 good games in a row. Okay. Is this the winning streak that I was thinking about? LA, 4 games in a row. We do lose to Tampa there. Carolina, as Ragnarsson, I was going to say Rafji. Ragnarsson's been injured with an injured foot. That's a quite substantial blow. Let's go replace player on that. Carolina's a 6-4 win. Rangers are a 4-1 win. Okay. Only 1 loss in our last 7 games. So we have popped up to 19, 18, and 4 at the halfway point, which only has us 2 points back of that wild card. So I think we're starting to find our game. It's just obviously taking a little bit longer than normal. Maybe there's been so much hockey we've played the last few years that our team's been a little bit more tired than normal. So maybe that's holding us back a bit. But let's take a look at some stats and see what's been going wrong for us so far. So in terms of our team stats, not scoring a ton. We are only scoring 2.9 goals for per game, which is 24th in the NHL. We are 17th in goals against, 24th on the power play, and 22nd on the PK. So some of those stats don't look the greatest. I do expect a lot of them to get better as the season goes on, but that's kind of weird. Kind of weird. Let's take a look at some player stats and see what's been good for us, though, in terms of individual players. See if there's been any good stats from anybody. Everybody's under point per game on this team, which is kind of insane. If we just look at forwards as a whole, Crane's on 30 points in 41 games. Lehman's on 30 points, but he is minus 10. Makinen's on 28 points. He's progressed a bit too. A lot of these guys are only on pace for like 60 points or something, so we might have a crazy second half of the season where these guys pick up a lot more points, but it is kind of scary. Ragnarsson on 28 points as well. Dempsey on 23 and 38. He's been pretty good. Kazanov 21 points. Ashton only 20 points as a second line center. I was thinking he'd be taking a big step up this year, but so far it's not very much looking like that, which is not great. He is listed as a first line forward now too, which is kind of insane. But hopefully he gets better. Popov 19 points, 39 games, not bad for the rookie. Hamilton only 16 points. He's been okay still, I guess. Hilbert 11 points. Russell 10 points. Abney 2 points in 33 games, 35 penalty minutes for the enforcer. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Hornquist 1 game. And Winchester's played 5, was minus 6 in those 5 games. God damn. How many fights does Abney already have in his career? At this point, he already has 5 fights. So, Stephen Abney looking like a pretty big beast. He is 6'6", 243 too, so this guy's a giant on skates. But in general, I'm not seeing a lot of issues. It's just we're not scoring it a ton. Like, Dempsey's been probably one of the better players on this team. We are having a bit of a plus-minus issue. It looks like maybe on that second line. Yeah, it's probably mostly that second line that needs work. Ashton, Kazanov, and Lehman. Maybe we move Lehman to that top line instead. Move Ragnarsson down to the second line to balance things out. Maybe. But like the depth scoring in the top 6 has been pretty solid for the most part. Like Kazanov and Ashton could be better. They're used to probably playing like third line minutes. But from a defensive standpoint, Holmstrom's on 28 points to lead the team defensively. And Houtenen's on 25. So this could also be the reason is the regression from Olli Houtonen. He is on pace for a 50-point season, and he is back to being exact elite, not exact top 4, but he could be retiring soon, and his production might be on the drop-off completely, so that could be why. He only has 2 power play points right now, and Holmstrom's leading the team defensively, which is kind of insane. He's on pace for a 56-point season. Yeah, we might have to lock up Holmstrom soon just because Houtonen, obviously being a retirement casualty soon, would be substantial. Schaefer 17 points, Carlton 12 points, Lindsay 6. How's his ice time concerns? It is concerning. Damn. We might have to make a defensive adjustment to get more guys ice time. Like Lindsay's getting first line penalty kill time, but he wants probably power play time too, I guess. But yeah, we might have to think about moving out from Lindsay or Carlton maybe. Or even Schaefer. I don't really know. Jang's on 5 points. Savage has only played 2 games. And he is, sad as well because he wants to be in the lineup. So, maybe a defensive change is in order. And then from a goaltending perspective, Nicholas has an 892. He hasn't been great. So far, Komitov's been the better of the two with the 908. Interesting. Any goalie goals from the two of these guys so far? No, but 1 assist from Nicholas at the moment. All right. So, I mean, it's interesting, but I'm not sure. Like, I guess Houtenen's technically almost a point leader on this team. Like, he hasn't regressed that hard, but Holmstrom's almost leading his team in points too, so maybe we need to just rework the forwards a bit, or maybe they'll find themselves in the second half a bit. How has Trotter done in the AHL? 11 goals, 18 points in 27 games. He's been pretty good, and he probably should be up here soon, but not yet. Let me go back to edit lines. Maybe we'll look into some line adjustments for next episode already. Because I don't know if trades are necessarily going to solve our problems, but they might. So maybe, actually there is an injury at the moment. So we could try Lehman as the top line guy. This we would put Ragnarsson in that spot to play next to Kazanov and Ashton and see if that kind of balances that out a bit. Because that second line has been a little bit bad defensively. And then, like, defensive pairings, we could always try and flip-flop, like, these pairings a bit if we really want to. Like I said, Lindsay getting him more ice time is going to be pretty tough, so I don't really know what we could do with that. And then goalies would probably stay the same. I still think the team's going to find itself in the second half, but It's a bit of a weird start. So there's that. Let's take a look at some potential trades as well. How much cap space do we got? $10.45 million. So we got money that we could spend if we really want to. I don't know if I'll simulate rest of the season in the next episode. I might simulate up to the trade deadline next episode, but let's take a look at potential guys we could bring in if we really wanted to, since we have the cap space. Wow, that guy's making $13 million bucks. No, thank you. Not taking on a $13 million contract. But, wow, an enforcer and McCarty in Boston. Power forward and Xavier Hoffman, I think his name is. Or Xander? Xander Hoffman. This guy might be an okay third-line center, but we don't really need to change up our third-line center that much. There's also Ronnie Defoe as a third-line defensive center. I mean, if we really wanted to make ourselves better defensively down there, we could. Also, Alexandrov's pretty solid, too. A lot of these guys are kind of middle-aged, though. Buffalo's just got prospects, which we're not really looking into. Same with Calgary. Same with Carolina. We're not trying to bring in young guys, really. Chicago doesn't have a lot. Damn, there's not too much on the block. A lot of guys are just trying to get rid of prospects. Woodruff's on the block now. That's a pretty interesting one. He is a really good goal scorer, but he's probably in the last year of his career, and he's making a lot more money than anticipated. But he is over point per game right now this season. 23 goals, 40 games. And yeah, he's a really good player. He could definitely score a lot of goals still at his overall. But if we were to bring in somebody like him, we'd need them to retain. We'd have to put him on the top line or something like that. But he's a really good playoff performer too. That's an interesting one. Nagy's back on the block. They're making way too much money though. Hedman's on the block. Hedman's actually pretty solid in terms of contract and all that. Nielakainen, our former guys on the block. We could bring back Pekka if we really want to, but looks like Columbus, despite being in a playoff spot, is trying to blow it up a little bit, which is interesting. Dallas, there is Hillen as a defenseman. Copeland is a right winger. There's definitely some options that we could bring in if we really want to upgrade things, but we could always just see if this team's actually going to find its game first in next episode. Then we could decide if we want to make trades. Because like I said, I think this team is going to start to heat up soon. But I don't know if we're going to have the craziest regular season, but that might be good for when it comes to the playoffs. Because maybe if we just barely make it into the playoffs, we'll be a better team in the postseason. So, because this team should be a championship caliber team, like the coach said. So, for us to be simulating like the way we are right now is a little bit weird. But we have won most of our games as of late. So, I just think it's about time that our team's going to find itself. Ooh, this guy's got elite potential. Former third-round pick, 79 overall at 21. Played one game, picked up an assist in his first NHL game. He is back in the AHL again. This guy's kind of interesting, to be honest, but I don't think he's somebody we need because he's pretty much like Popov right now. He does have better potential than Popov, but I don't think there's a way I could get him into our lineup. But that is still a really good player that could get moved out. Rangers have a defenseman in Pekanov, but he's already listed as a top 4 as well, so we'd have to get rid of a top 4 to get in top 4. The Sens just have some prospects. Philadelphia. Kerslake as a sniper is okay, but $3.4 million. I'm not really seeing something crazy that we necessarily need to bring in, so I probably would, in next episode, just keep the team the same for the time being and see how the team simulates. Our former top-line sniper, Cook, is on the block. How's he doing now at this point? Tyrone Cook. He's dropped off a lot by 35. Still in Seattle, though. 28 points in 40 games. Has won a Stanley Cup, I think, since leaving us, right? Yeah. It's always of former players that win the Stanley Cups, right? Like Jaskalainen, obviously, and all that. Oh, man. I really hope this team finds its game a bit. Hey, look, there's Michelli, too. Speaking of former players, he also has a cup. No, he does not have a cup since leaving us, but he's been a good goal scorer. This season, he's off to a slow start, though. He's only on pace for maybe a 30-goal season at best. But, there are some good players out there. like Cannon as a top 6 guy. He's actually signed for 7 years, though. And they're already trying to get rid of him. Goddamn. Pyatt as a third-line center would be pretty nice. Because Hamilton hasn't been the best so far. But this guy could also be maybe a better top 6 center than what we're getting at the moment from whatever his name is. Drawing a complete blank again. Anyways, but Pyatt's pretty good. He's only signed for 1 year left, though, so he's probably going to want a big contract in the offseason if he's playing that good. Vancouver has Menard as a goalie. Vegas prospects, of course, because that's always Vegas's plan. Washington, not much. And Winnipeg has some solid players on the block, too. So that's interesting. All right. I'm trying to think realistically. I do think our team's going to find itself back again in the second half. Just been a really weird start. If we look at the calendar as of late, though, we've been definitely much better of a team since the start of this new year. Because, yeah, since technically, like, right around here, we've won 2 games, 3 games. We lost 1. Then we won 4, 5. We lost 2, 6 wins, 7 wins. Yeah, we're like 7-2 in our last 9 games or so. It probably actually says the last 10 games. Yeah, we're 7-2-1 in our last 10 games. I think our team's going to find itself. I think we could pretty much just stay pat to the trade deadline. And then the trade deadline, obviously, I'll probably have as the episode afterwards. And then we can make decisions if we want to use more of our cap and try and bolster our roster for a playoff run or something like that. So, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our New York Islanders franchise mode. So next episode, we'll continue to simulate more. We'll simulate up to the trade deadline. We'll see what our team's looking like at that point. And then we'll probably make a decision if we want to make any trades or not. But our team's been a little bit weird so far this year, but I think they're going to find themselves in the second half. It's just going to take a bit more ironing out. A lot of the young guys probably are just taking their first steps into the NHL. A lot of the guys that have been on our NHL team have played a lot of hockey over like the last 7 years or so. So they might be a little bit tired, but hopefully they find themselves in the rest of the season. So I think that below, and I'll see you guys next time.